Hello, readers. Welcome back to the Toppling TBR. I'm Stacey.
I'm Hannah, and today we are doing part 2 of One Dark Window. Gosh, yours is so pretty. I'm so jealous.
I love it. You know what? My husband saw it up on the shelf and he was like, "Is this a girl book?" I'm like, "What does that even fucking mean? A girl book?"
There's no
I'm
such
like,
thing.
"No, read
Well,
it."
actually, no, men could definitely do with reading some girl books. They could take some notes.
It's not chick lit, if that's what he's asking. I'm like, "No." I'm like, "I don't even know what that means."
Me either.
I
All right,
digress.
so part 2 is The Mist, and we left off part 1 with Elspeth agreeing to help the U's find all the Providence cards to try to lift the mist. And we learned that Ravyn has the second nightmare card and that he too is infected.
Yes.
So we'll jump into chapter 15.
Yes, let's do it.
And Elspeth leaves Stone with the U's. And, her Aunt Opal's, heartbroken, but her uncle is like trying to see all the ways that this new situation in courting can benefit him. I don't like
No.
it. So she doesn't say goodbye to Ione, and Emery is all upset and he wants to go with them.
Yeah.
They arrive at Castle U, and as a child, Elspeth was told that this castle was haunted, and it kind of gives off those vibes, which I'm very
Mm,
intrigued by Castle U. So
totally.
Ravyn walks her to her room and apologizes for seeming distant. And, he admits that he's forgotten how to talk to people about anything of importance. And Elspeth totally gets it because she too has been hiding something for the majority of her life. But it is much easier for her to hate him than for her to actually face how much she hates herself for the same things. She tells him that because the castle's privacy and they won't be seen by as many people, there is no need for them to pretend to court anymore. And she shuts the door in his face.
Yeah.
So whenever she wakes up, it's dark. And so she asks the nightmare for help seeing around the room. And she sees a man in golden armor depicted on the carpet. And then Jesper arrives with her trunk. And Elspeth asks who the man on the carpet is. And she says it's a shepherd king. And she said that
Mm-hmm.
looking at him felt like a forgotten dream, which I thought was
Mm-hmm.
interesting. So Jasper gives Elspeth the letter from Opal, and basically Opal is saying, the house will feel empty. I'll miss you, but I'm really happy for this new chapter that you're going down. But be careful because there's old magic in Castle U.
Yeah.
We hear that like several times throughout this too. So I'm like,
Yeah.
we haven't seen it yet. I'm waiting for it. Unless it's just, all the like fairy tales about it being haunted from a kid, but who knows? Jasper confides, that she's worried about their crew but she keeps telling herself that she's stronger than her doubts. And she pauses in the middle of this conversation to tell Elspeth that her eyes are yellow. More people are seeing this. So then Jasper invites Elspeth to go to dinner or to tea with Sylvia Pine and her daughters because they believe that Waylon Pine, their dad, has an iron gate card and that the daughters talk freely about everything. So the plan is essentially just to go to tea and find out where the card is hidden. So that was that chapter. At first, I was mad at Elspeth for slamming the door in Raven's face, but then I understand it because in not doing that and having to pretend to court him, she would have to like be honest with herself,
Yeah.
and that's dangerous for her at this point in the book.
Don't think she's ready either. She's not ready to be vulnerable.
She's not ready to accept that she's got this creature living inside of her and tell anybody about it either. Like can you imagine going from the age of 9 to like whatever she is now 20 something
Yeah.
without ever telling anybody that you would literally have another creature living inside your head.
Well, I know that I know she wants to know whether or not he hears voices in his head, right? So I think she's probably wondering too is, are you like me? Or is this happened to me and it didn't happen to you? And then she's got questions, right? It's all things she's not ready to face yet. And it's funny because I understood her. Like I would have done the same thing. And she's never been with a boy before either. So this is all new for her, right? Like
Yeah.
the feelings and yeah, it's icky. No, I completely got it. I actually thought it was really weird that they were talking so openly about what card her father had. I know it's punishable by death or whatever to steal a card, but still, it was really brazen of them to talk about it like that. Not
No, it
like, oh,
was.
my dad's got this one, he's got that one, he carries it on his person. I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why they wanted to go have tea with those girls because they like gossip. They like to brag. That's just I mean, we all know girls like that or
yeah,
people.
that's true. I thought it was really brazen. I'm like, Jesus fuck.
Yeah.
If I was that dad, I'd be like,
Shut your dirty
ladies.
mouth. No,
I
I
just
feel
I thought that because part 1 was so good, I was so ready to dive right in, and it picks up steam so much in this part. I I love it. I love it so much. And this part was so much better than the first part too.
Just wait. It gradually gets better. Every part gets better. And then in my opinion, the second book is even better.
I know you said that, and somebody else was like, "Book 1 was okay, but book 2 is, like, the best book I've ever
It's
read," and I'm like,
so
"Now I'm
good.
really excited."
Like, this is setting the scene for the rest of it. So if you're already this into it, I cannot wait.
So hooked, and then you were like, "Oh, yeah, I'm getting there, right?" And I'm like, "Oh, but part 3 is just it's right here, and I have
And
it,
it's
and it's"
short too.
but there's gonna be so much going on in that part. I can feel it. I
Yeah.
can't wait. Are you ready for chapter 16?
Yeah.
So I don't usually read the things at the top so much when I'm like writing my notes, but I noticed that the top this time around said Providence cards are a gift. Their magic is measured. Neither they nor those who wield them risk degeneration. Still, be wary, be clever, be good. Nothing comes for free, especially in magic. Providence cards are a gift. And I'm like, so that means then that not everybody does degenerate. That's what that's saying, right?
Yeah, so I went back and forth on that too. I was like, okay, well, if you're using the magic card, you don't risk degeneration, I guess, except for the ill negative effects, like, the bloody nose with the scythe. But what about
But it
if
said
you're infected? What about if you're infected and you're using the cards? Because that doesn't negate that at all because, like, Ravyn is still degenerating and he is infected and he
yeah,
uses
and
the card. So, like,
I don't know. You might be right there. She said, nor those who wield them. So obviously, it means people that use them also are not necessarily going to degenerate. And I was wondering what kind of person doesn't then, because the guy that does the physician guy, right? He doesn't seem to be deteriorating. He's
no.
been
Well,
hunting down these people for a long time.
yeah, so do you think that he's a, like, avid card user?
I don't know. I don't know. It was. I was like, 'cause I read that part and I'm like, I don't know what to think about that now. Like,
Yeah,
it flipped my whole script.
I was the same way, but I'm curious too because just card users like Hoth and Elm and all that who are not infected, they don't degenerate, right? It's just the
Yeah.
infected that do. So maybe
Yeah.
Orith Willow does use cards more freely, and that's why his degeneration isn't showing. Or maybe he is degenerating and we don't know. But like Raven
Yeah.
admits several times that he tries not to use the cards as often.
It doesn't seem to
And I
matter.
wonder if he did, if it would slow his degeneration and like instead of every year, one going away, like it'd be every 2 years or something. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, that's a really good question. I wondered if it was just like because they made it seem as though the crux is coming now. Like the mist is getting worse. At some point, they're not going to be able to beat it. It doesn't matter if they have the whole deck, right? So I wondered if the degeneration was more about the mist getting stronger and not really about the cards
I don't think that the degeneration has anything to do with the cards. I think it is just to do with the
to
mist
do
and
with
the infection.
illness.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the cards were created before the mist. The mist was created to counter slash repercussion for creating the cards and making the spirit of the woods, unneeded.
Because I literally sat there for about 10 minutes going, and I was going to message you, and I'm like, maybe you haven't started it yet. And I'm like, I can't do that. And I'm like, and I was like, don't Google it, Google it. I'm
Don't
like,
you dare.
but now I want to know. And I'm like, and I just write, it was like, ask Hannah what she thinks about this. All
Yeah.
I know.
I had a question at the end of this chapter was does the Providence cards and their users don't risk degeneration apply if the user's infected? That's the only thing I had written down.
Yeah. So you were obviously pondering the same thing I was. And I
Yeah.
was like, I'm guessing at some point they'll answer this question for us. They just haven't yet.
Yeah, Rachel Gillig is a phenomenal author, so I'm pretty
She's a
sure I
punk.
remember her wrapping everything up neatly.
Yeah, somebody else said that because I posted a video about it and she was like, the book just, and there's no loose ends. You're going to feel very
It is.
happy with the ending. So, yeah, I'm excited. Okay, so they're all sitting around waiting. Jesper is chided for morning drinking, which I thought was really hilarious because I've spent all this week drinking Irish coffee. So I guess Sylvia is a bit of a nightmare then because who needs to drink to get through a meeting? And just so you know, I thought Jesper was a boy right up until this
Really?
chapter. Yeah,
Really? She's a sister and the only female destrier.
I, I, I literally said she, and I'm like, what? And I went back and I'm like, fuck, she's a girl. And I've spent this
Yeah.
whole time in my head imagining a boy. I'm like, well,
Clear that up.
a real kick out of that. So Ravyn isn't joining them, and Jesper is making fun of her for asking nonchalantly, like, oh, who else is joining us? They needed to be discreet with Sylvia because they need her Iron Gate card because they only have 3 left, right? Now, Nightmare is losing his shit over all the dress talk. He's literally, because that's what they're talking about, he's likened it to death by 1,000 paper cuts. And I was like, "Does he know what a fucking paper cut is?" It made me laugh so hard. I was dying, man. This book just had me in stitches and spots. Now,
Yes.
Elspeth realizes that the reason that she is there is because Ione, her cousin, having the maiden card, they knew that Ione would come up and that she could mention that she has the maiden card. And she felt a little used. And I was like, yes, but why else do you think you were fucking there?
You agreed to help them go down this path, so
And
they
I
didn't
was
need to
like, "Why
hold your
you're up?"
hand and walk you through it.
I just thought it was so funny. I'm like, "You said you'd help, and then when you realized that they wanted you there for that, you were a little, like, smarted about it." I just thought it was so funny.
You
I'm
said
like,
enough, though.
"Oh, this chick makes
You
me
said
laugh."
enough.
But I thought it was a great way to get them talking about the cards, so I could see where they were going with that. So they managed to wrangle out of them that he does indeed have an Iron Gate card and a Prophet card. Which I guess they already have one of those, so that really doesn't matter. So they go to tell Fenrir what they found out. He has it on his person at the equinox, and he hasn't left yet. So it sounds to me like the Highwaymen are going to be doing another robbery. So Fenrir wants to show Elspeth the old book of elders, and he reads the last page aloud. The 12 call for each other when the shadows grow long, and I'm like, so the cards are calling out to each other, right? I'm like, ooh, okay. When the days are cut short and the spring is strong, they call for the deck and the deck calls them back. Unite us, they say, and we'll cast out the black. At the king's namesake tree with the black blood of salt, all 12 shall together bring sickness to a halt. They lighten the mist from the mountain to sea, new beginnings, new ends, but nothing comes free. And I'm like, so who can hear the call of the cards then? Is Elsbeth hearing these calls?
I mean, she's definitely hearing the nightmare, but it's not well, she's seeing them.
Yeah, but is she also ignoring a sound? Like, or is it because nightmares in her head, she can't hear it?
I don't maybe if she were to touch the other cards that she would absorb that and be able to hear those as well. But
Yeah,
also the
maybe.
nightmare card is the cost for that one was his soul. So technically his soul was in that card. So I
Yeah,
don't know what else she would absorb from the other ones because I know he bartered like bone from a queen and whatever else he did. So
yeah.
I don't know if there'd be as much for her to absorb, but she does get to see them. So kind of they're calling her in a way.
Yeah, because I was like, every little like rhyming thing now has got my freaking brain just
Yeah.
lighting up, and it's oh my god, I can't wait to get to the end. Now she wants to know if the king knows where the last card is, and luckily enough, he has no clue. They know the law that the Shepherd King went into the mist with it, and then he came out and he didn't have it. Now they will use the king's position for the infected blood. That's who they're going to use instead of Emery. And I was like, right, oh
No, you're
yeah. So he was cursed as a child and he can spot when others have the infection. And so basically, he's the one putting up these little kids to die. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's use him. I'm so in on that.
absolutely.
So she also agrees with me. She was completely in for this guy being the blood sacrifice. And I'm like, yeah, I'm loving this. So they are only missing 3 cards, the Well, the Iron Gate, and the Twin Alder. They wonder where they can get the Well card from when Elspeth says, well, she knows someone who has it, and they live just down the fucking street. And
Mhm.
again, Nightmare gets really weird when he sees the image of the Shepherd King. And I'm telling you right now, okay? Right here, I'm so convinced it's him. Nightmare is him. I'm telling you right now, I was convinced. And every single time I wrote anything, I'm like, I'm telling you right now, I'm right.
Well, she doesn't hide. She pretty much and I said this in the last one, like, she pretty much tells you what's up. Just, she drags it along with some pretty words and poetry and all of that, but she's not lying to us at all throughout the book or, like, trying to trick us at all.
No, and I think she gives us all the information up front. It's just, what are you spotting at what point?
Yeah,
And I love that. It feels like a little puzzle that's made in such a way that everybody catches the pieces at a different rate.
I do enjoy
I
that.
really like that. I really like that. I think she's a really phenomenal writer.
She is. Oh, okay, so whenever she left and it shows, more Shepherd King decor around the castle, it mentions that his visor is always closed. And I'm curious if you have any theories why his visor is always closed. Because if he's this big, important king, why would he not want to be seen?
Well, I think this is more to do with the fact that my husband loves to watch these kinds of movies. They tend to do that when they think they're going to be under attack because that's the only vulnerable spot. And I thought maybe he felt that he was always in danger. But now you've just said that, I'm like, maybe he really didn't want anyone to know what he looked like because that would also make sense. How your mind thinks in such a way. I'm like, I didn't even catch that.
Well, I did because I'm like, okay, if you are the king of all of these people, they should and like compare him to Hoth later, right? Whenever they're in Market Street and Hoth isn't wearing a mask, even though it's tradition. Like he wants to be seen. He wants to,
Yeah.
show off
Yeah,
or what,
maybe you're
and then
right
the
there.
shrinking doesn't it doesn't seem like.
No, now that you've said that, I'm going, "Oh my god, that makes so much more sense." But I know that I don't wanna skip ahead. No, I always just assumed it was because he that's the only when you lift up your visor when you are in armor,
Right.
that's your weakness right there, right? Yeah. And I don't think he liked to be vulnerable, and now I'm like, maybe he didn't wanna know anyone. Maybe he was already no. I was gonna say maybe the beast was already like the yellow eye thing was already happening to him, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. So I was gonna say in the first part, whenever she went into a dream and she saw the Shepherd King sitting on the slab, and he looked at her and she saw the yellow eyes, and then it, like, went away and it went into
Yes.
Chronicles Angry, and she saw yellow eyes. Was his visor drawn then? I
I
think
don't
it
know, but maybe he was alone because she's seeing an echo of a memory, right? But I
yeah,
wondered maybe turning already at that point, maybe all these deals that he was making with these cards, maybe it was visible on his face. He didn't want anyone to know.
maybe.
But like, you say the coolest things. Now I'm like, oh, I
But
have a new.
they would have incorporated all of that artwork into the tapestries and carpet and all that before the end, right? It would have
Hmm,
been from a previous year in his ruling.
yeah,
I don't
maybe.
know.
It's a good question.
I don't remember if anything comes from that, so I was just curious.
Well, now I
Also,
want to know. See, this is the problem with talking to you because now I'm itching to get to part three. And I know we can once we're done here,
I
but I'm
think
like,
there's only, like I don't remember how many chapters, but I think it's only, like,
I
8
think it's
chapters or something.
7. There's
Yeah, it's
7,
a
I
smaller
think.
number.
29 to 35. Yeah, 6. Yeah, there's not very many at all.
So we'll be back soon.
I'm hoping that there's more to dissect in the later chapters.
Yeah, there definitely is, I think, in the next book. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember how this book ends, but we'll see.
Well, I'm
Also
excited.
I really enjoyed we were talking about, like, the girls offering up, which cards their parents or their father had, but I really enjoyed Elspeth being like, "Oh, I know where we can get a well card," because in all of the other scenes, like, even up in the beginning of this scene, she was just, there, and now I feel like she's kinda crossing a line, and she's actually contributing instead of just kinda reacting and going along with things. Like, she's
I
chosen a side now.
Well, yeah, for sure, and I think because at first I was like, has she really been sold to the idea of why they're doing what they're doing? And I'm like, she has. She's picked her side now. She's made her decision and she's gonna stick to that. But I was like, so how long did she know her dad had the well card then?
From the beginning. Remember whenever she went in the very beginning on her name day there, the nightmare was like, "Oh, your father's coming," and she saw I think it's blue, but the glow of the well card coming, and it mentions it in the first scene, like chapter 1, it mentioned that he had it.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, yes, you are right. Oh my god, see my notes, I'm terrible. I write things down and I'm like, I don't know what I was trying to say there.
Same, same. I'll have to actually go back and reread if my notes aren't clear enough, so I've started trying to take a little bit more detail instead of just one word, periods. I'm like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Like, I was so excited. I almost tabbed the book because there was a couple of sections that I wanted to, like, revert back to. I'm like, "No, no, just do, like, highlight stuff on your thing here." So I
yeah,
did that.
that is one downfall of a Kindle is I love my Kindle, I really do, but whenever I'm like if I'm deep diving and I need to go back and check things, it's not as quick and easy as just flipping through the pages.
Yeah.
So, the downfall. So,
I love my Kindle too. I love it for on the go, but yeah, for doing stuff like this, like my cousin, we she wanted to read a book with me, and she was like, "I can send you a Kindle version. Like, I'll buy it for you." And I'm like, "I'll just get the paperback." She was like, "Oh," I'm like, "It's just a thing, okay?
nothing
Read it."
against you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, trust me, I'm not you don't have to buy me a book. I'm like, "But no, I have because I have to if I wanna ask her something, I have to be able to flick. You're right. I
Yeah.
flick."
Not like, "Oh, wait, hold on, tap, 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 tap. Wait, no, tap, tap." And Kindles are
Yeah.
so slow, they have a lag time too.
Oh
At
my
least mine
god, it's so bad. I got the color soft, that's a little better, but still. I was trying to remember what chapter something was in. Fuck no.
Alright, you ready for chapter 17?
I am
Okay.
indeed.
So chapter 17, now here, the more Elspeth asks the nightmare for help, the stronger his presence is becoming. She is I know this is wild. She understands him more easily now and sometimes too easily, and his emotions are kind of blurring into her own, and she can no longer tell where he ends and she begins. This is
Mm.
love it. But also, no, but I do. Okay. So she leaves and she's walking around the gardens at Castle U, and they're wild and untamed, and she absolutely loves them for it. And she's, decides to weave herself a flower crown, and she pricks her finger on a rose trying to get one for it. Ravyn is back at Castle U, and he shows up and he cuts the rose for her, and he's like, "Oh, may I?" And he weaves it into her crown. And I know, I know. He tells her that infected people like them do not need charms to enter the mist. So that is the first time she's hearing of that. And he gives her a tour, and there's this hidden path that leads to the ruins of the original castle. And it is older even than Castle Stone, and it has been destroyed by a fire a long time ago, and only one room is still standing. So the nightmare, whenever she sees this, is kind of urging her to go in. But
Yeah.
she realizes there's no door. There's only a window. Well, he tells her that, that's all the spirit of the wood requires was one window. But Elspeth is like, "Nah, I'm not gonna go in there." And Nightmare is not pleased about that. But she decides, to ask Ravyn what being invisible feels like, which
Mm,
that would be something I'd be curious about too. And
hell yeah.
he says it feels cold, but not unbearably so. And he cannot see spirits because, like we said earlier, he tries not to use the cards too often.
Yeah.
And so she continues to ask him questions, and she asks about the nightmare, and she's probing, trying to find out, do you see a creature? Do you hear a voice? And when he uses the nightmare, he does hear a voice if he uses it for a long time. And usually when it speaks, it knows everything that he's ever thought or feared. But the voice, unlike her, does not sound like a stranger. It is his own voice.
I know.
So that answers your questions from earlier.
I know. I actually wrote boo.
You wanted it to be the same.
It did, because it would have made it that their connection was really like the sameness. And I'm like, I was kind of disappointed.
Well, not just that, they've been hiding so much
Yes.
about themselves, like huge, huge parts of their being for, half their lives. It would be nice to have someone to fully confide in and understand what you're going through.
Yeah. I kind of was like, I don't know if at that point, if it had been me, would I have told him the truth? Because he's been so honest. She had an opening to be just as honest, and she doesn't do it, which I was kind of disappointed for that too.
Yeah, well, she's really scared of how he'll react, as we see later too.
Yes. Yeah, well, I get it now, but at that
He
point in the book,
handles
I'm
it
actually,
like a freaking perfect gentleman.
you know what? I was like, Raven wasn't my favorite up
Yeah,
until
you
like
were
the last
anti
part of
him.
part one. But like after I finished part two, I'm like, oh,
He's so I didn't remember liking him as much as I'm liking him on this reread. I like in thinking back to the cast years after I'd read it, I was like, they're cool, but they're kind of boring. Like it's not that
yeah,
they're boring, they're just not as like witty and sassy as a lot of other people that we read, They're
yeah.
but I'm really, really enjoying him this time.
Kind of like the softness, though. I think he's a really beautiful contrast to the strong, like,
Yeah.
possessive assholes we usually
Yeah, these
find
are not
them.
gay men and women, huh?
No. No, but he's still like, he's had to close himself off in a way, kind of like warriors do. And I'm like, I kind of like the vulnerability. I don't know. I was
Yeah.
kind of charmed.
I do too. So after talking all that, Raven has come to fetch her because they are going to go get the Iron Gate card. Wayland is leaving Stone, and they're going to go and intercept him on the road. And he's like, "Oh, have you ever used a blade?" And I don't think she answered clearly, but the answer was no. And so they go to the armory where they meet Jesper Elm, John Thistle, and then the two Ivy brothers. And it's their little party of highwaymen. But I really loved the flower scene, his like, "May I?" and weaving the flower in her hair. Cause like, okay, this entire magic system is set up in a way to ignore consent. Like the scythe card, the chalice card, everything, the nightmare card, it's all just getting in your head without anything. And it felt so soft and like deliberate for him to ask for consent for that. I really enjoyed that.
I really did too. That's what I mean. Every chapter that he's in now, especially in part two, has been me just building on just how adorable he really is. I just want to
Aw.
go, oh, like don't get me wrong. He has his sharp sides. Like there are a lot of blunt edges, but I love the soft moments with him and her. Like,
And we get a lot more
oh
of them in part two. A lot of
oh,
them.
yeah, yeah, I loved it, loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you covered everything I wrote down. Every question I
I
had, you answered it on the way through. The only thing I'm gonna note is he was talking about, like, how the old castle was pretty much all gone except that room. Now, was it deliberately left there like that, or did it just not get destroyed because it's magic contained?
I would assume it's the second because I mean the spirit of the wood had him build that room for her and she inhabited it. She lived there. So she had to have like she's all powerful, right? She
Yeah.
had to have created something to keep it standing. Because if it takes the entire thing and this one room is, like, perfectly preserved.
That's what I was like, I'm like, "Was that deliberate?" Because I wondered, because this was just my thought process. I was like, "Was it deliberate that they knew it had to be left there because she'd be angry, or it didn't get destroyed?" Like, I was like, "Ooh."
Well, she's got the power, and then also we learn about the power in the stone too, so I'm wondering if that has something to do with it as well. I don't remember which ones were in there, but maybe they have some sort of shield.
Yeah, maybe. That I didn't actually at that p at this point by chapter 17, I
Yeah.
hadn't considered anything else outside of what I already knew, and I'm like, "Oh, I wonder what Hannah thinks."
Yeah, it had to. That's deliberate. There's no way.
Like, I was that's where I was at by the time I had finished kind of mulling it over, but I'm like, "You never know, though." Yeah. But, like, because everyone fears it, right? Like, they walk past and like, "Oh, it's haunted," and I wondered if maybe it was almost like superstition, like it was left untouched as a superstition, but I guess I had no real reason to believe that. I just wondered what you thought. Are you ready for chapter 18?
I am.
I just have one thing to note before I start talking about it, and it's how much I absolutely love that they start teasing her. Like, Jesper, like, steps in when they're, like, saying stuff to her and they got the teasing stuff going on. I love how quickly they've accepted her into their little group.
Me
Like,
too.
she's trusted. And
Well,
I'm like,
besides from Elm, the rest of them
well,
do.
yeah. You know what? Elm's not fucking stupid. I'm not being funny, but he's watching everything with a very critical eye. So there's no fooling him anyway, and he knows something's not right. But everyone else is kind of she's part of their group. Like she's not an outsider. They're teasing her. And Jasper's like stepping in, kind of like, hey, knock that off. Let's stop that. And I really loved that moment. Like for me, that was like a really beautiful moment in chapter 18.
Yeah.
So yeah, right?
Yeah, Jesper,
So
you see, kinda is opening up to her a lot, even in the previous chapters,
hmm,
whenever she walked up and brought her trunk, like, she's confiding in her. I think she's happy to have another female around. She's been around guys her whole life, you know?
like, she even dresses like them, and I think that was one of the things that because she was wearing pants, and I think that was mentioned, right? And I'm like, I just assumed she was a boy until and then I'm like, "Oh my god." I'm like, "Did I misread that the whole time?" And I'm like, "Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
just
did."
zoomed over.
I'm like, "How?" I guess I was thinking about, like, Jasper.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
boys
it's a
have
unisex name anyway, and I guess
yeah.
their parents really like the Ys in the names Ravyn and Jesper, they both have a Y.
Yeah, but now I'm reading Jasper does sound like a girl's name, and I'm like, "Wow, what a fucking ninny." And I spent the whole of part 1 thinking that she was a boy. Like, whatever. I felt really stupid. I was sitting there, I was laughing. I'm like, if Hannah was here, she'd be fucking howling right now at me.
It's okay.
I was like,
I'm not gonna hold
wow.
it against you. I don't think he said "he" at all in the last podcast, so
No, 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 no. Wow. Because you probably would have pulled me up on it. Okay. So she's in the armory for a weapon as she's going to be going along to retrieve the Iron Gate card. And I was like, why would you take an amateur along for the journey? And I'm like, duh. She's probably the only
maybe.
one that knows exactly where it fucking is. And I'm like, I swear to God, I was completely sober. And I was like, the stupid things that were popping in my head. And I was like answering them on the other side. I'm like, wow, I've got stupid Stacy and smart Stacy like battling it out in my head. And I was like, okay. So she needs to get changed because it's too conspicuous to be dressed the way that she would normally dress. And she has to put on like leggings and she's not digging it at all. And I absolutely loved that Nightmare's giving her shit about being upset over fucking pants. Pants, get over it. And I was absolutely dying, man. Because if you're a woman and you've never worn pants before because it's just not done, it would make you really uneasy. And I just thought it
It's
was so funny.
fitted,
And
you
I
can
was just like, oh, gosh, you're
yes,
pathetic. Like, get over it.
fitted and you can see your shape as opposed to everything being hidden. Like, I get it.
Yeah,
And leggings are form fitted, you know?
exactly. And obviously, they were worried about her wearing her colors too. But then there's a part in the book where they talk about her wearing a dress in her colors. And I'm like, does she wear her house colors then?
I
Because
don't
it
think
didn't
she
seem.
often does.
No. I guess that kind of confused me a little bit because they mentioned that. And I'm like, okay. And I was like, I think I overthink things too much because we're deep diving rather than just going with the flow. But I was like, whatever.
I do.
So yeah, they're going to go and retrieve the card and come back. And they literally talk about how this world card that her father has. And I'm just like, why would she want to steal from her dad? And I know it sounds really bad because she's made a commitment, but I'm like, she's choosing these cards over family now.
Yeah, and her father isn't other than him sending her to stay with her aunt and uncle, he's not a bad guy. Like, she's never made it seem like, he treated her bad.
No. And I sat there and I'm like, "I don't understand how you're so willing." It doesn't feel like she's got any moment here where she's like, "I feel really bad about this. Like, this is my dad." Like, there's no back and forth in her thinking. And she's just like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this."
Well, it does mention too, and later we find out that her theory, with regards to her degenerating, but like in this last chapter I did, it mentions, the nightmares becoming more prevalent. And so
Yeah.
maybe she's scared and she's like, well, we need to cure this now.
Yeah.
But I think
Well,
maybe if
you
it were
could
the
tell.
last card they were missing, that I might understand it a little bit better, but they still need the Twin Alders card, which nobody's seen. So, like,
Yeah.
I need to go back in my notes and see how many well cards there are, because remember, I never did the breakdown. I don't remember if
It
the
was
well card was.
4, wasn't it?
I don't
3 or
remember. I
4?
don't know which chapter it is. I'm gonna casually scroll and see if I can find it. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like if it were closer to the end, I would understand it. But because it's not, it's weird that she does throw her dad under the bus like that.
Yeah, and I wrote down, I'm like, I don't it's for me, if that was my dad and he'd sent me away from my own protection, I'd feel a little bit of back and forth, like, "Do I really wanna do this to him? Is there another card out there? Can we find it?" They didn't know that he had it, but she offered that right up. I don't know, but now that you've just said about, like, curing herself, I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, that actually does make sense now," because I didn't that didn't clock for me at all.
yeah. There
Now
are 6 wells.
oh, 6. Okay, so yeah, it's not like it's a really rare one.
Yeah,
It's middle, right? Okay. Okay, that's yeah. I don't know. Anyway, so she can't ride a horse because the animals don't like her. And this is where we find out that it is literally nightmare. That is
yeah,
the problem when it comes to animals. Because this first made me laugh so hard. Because Nightmare's like, yeah, he's like, it knows that I'm in here. And that's why it's like reacting that way. And being the shit disturber he is, he makes like that growling noise in her head. And the animal can hear it and it bucks her off. And I was
uh-huh.
fucking laughing my ass off, man. I'm like, what is shit? What is shit? Because the animal knew it was there, like the predator was there, but was like trying to be calm. And then he just rolled it right fucking up.
Why
I
do you
was
think he
laughing.
is? Do you think he's just bored, stuck in her body, and he's like, hey?
Wow, thanks. Sorry. What was you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, why do you think he hissed? Like, do you think he's just bored, trapped in her body, and he's like, I'm gonna have some fun? Or I don't.
Got the feeling that he just was flexing a little bit. It's like, "Hey,
Yeah,
watch what I can
I
do."
have control over you in this
Yeah,
situation.
not you. You wanna get on the horse? No. I just kind of I wrote down that he was a shit disturber. Like, I don't know though, because the more like, now that we know that the more she uses him, the more control he's gaining, I don't know, it's quite terrifying. Trying to work out what his motivations really are, like, what he really wants, what he's really after.
Yeah, we don't know, but he does say early in the book that he taunts. Like, I think it was chapter 1, he's like, "Yeah, I taunt. That's what I do."
Yeah.
So, don't know what he's after, but we know he's trying to have fun and entertain himself along the way.
He's pretty funny. Like, some of the stuff he comes out with just made me laugh. But because now they know that she can't ride a horse, they're talking about how they can travel, being that she can't travel safely on horseback. And this made me laugh so much because Jess was like, I think we can use a wagon. And she even makes a bet that they can outrun a war horse with it, and she was going to give up her card for it. And I was fucking dying, man. Like, there's no way you'd outrun a war horse with a
Right?
wagon. And they decide against that in the end. But she has to sit behind Elm, who really, he's not happy about this at all. But I was like, I kind of like Elm because he's like, whatever, I'll take it. But you can
I
tell that
love.
he's really, yeah, I love Elm, but you can tell that he's paying really close attention. And she doesn't realize just how much attention he's really fucking paying at this point. Now, they can feel salt in the air so that they know that the spirit of the wood is like close by. And now I'm like, now is she stalking them or is she just in the wood area? And I'm like, is she looking for cars? Is she looking for Nightmare? And I was like, I've got to stop overthinking
Well,
because I
so
don't.
it says that she can take the shape of animals. So, is she one thing or is she multiple things? So,
Well,
can
it
she
said
be in multiple different animal forms throughout the wood? Or
it didn't mention that. It just said that she can take the form of animals, but that they wouldn't quite look right.
they're
Like, you
just
could
off?
tell that there was something wrong. Yeah. So oh god, that's a really good question. I guess I didn't think about
Because
that. I
if
just assumed
she
one.
can divide and, spread and take over all these different corners of the wood, then she wouldn't
She could be
necessarily have to
paying
be
attention
watching
to a
them.
lot of things in one
Yeah.
go. Yeah. Now see, now you've changed my thinking again. I'm like, because I just assumed that she was staying close to that group, and I didn't know if it was Elspeth or whether it was the cards or whether it was Nightmare.
Yeah, I was about to say she probably has a draw or a connection to the nightmare since she helped
Yeah.
create or turn him into that.
Yeah. And I'm like, is she stalking them? Like, I
'Cause
had
she's like this
so many
deity
questions.
of sorts, right? So she's
Yeah.
all-knowing in a way, so she's gotta know
Yeah.
that they're there or what they're doing.
Yeah. And does she want them to succeed or doesn't she want them to like, I had
Probably
so many
not,
questions.
because if they lift the mist, then she won't be able to infect people and spread her magic in her way. It's only via the way that the Shepherd King did with the cards, right?
Yeah. God, I don't know. I never Google books because it really bothers me to spoil them, and I
Too
had so
many.
many
Yeah, too
questions,
many
and
spoilers.
I was like, "Don't." I was like, "But just have a quick," and I'm like, "No,
Nope.
no,
Nope.
no." And but it's really overpowering in this book. It's I'm like, "I bet
Yeah.
Google has all the answers to all of my questions. I bet it does. I bet it does."
It has too many answers. You can Google it after we finish Two Twisted Crowns,
Yes, but I probably will have them all answered by then, or you'll have answered them for me.
or I'll have given you more and you can look them all up.
God, you do that too. I have
I
like
can
5
do it.
questions, and then I talk to you and I have 2,000.
Yeah.
You literally find avenues I don't even think of.
My brain is an overdrive all the time.
Yeah, but you're making mine go nuts too. I kind of love it though because I'm like, ooh, wonder what Hannah thinks about this. And it's so exciting. So they're in the forest now and they're having to wait. They're in the spot where they need to be and they're just waiting. So after a while, she actually starts to freak out because she realizes that she's just about to do to someone else what happened to her in the woods, and she was really quite terrified. And she's panicking about that. And he wants her to forgive him for that night. He said he actually waited around like for a few nights afterwards in hopes of seeing her again so he could apologize for what happened. And she was like, I will only accept your apology if you call me Elsbeth. And I thought that was so cute that that's all she really wanted was for him to
Instead of
stop
Miss
calling her.
Spindle.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, it was so cute. But now they know it's time to shake somebody down for their card. And I actually had a random question. Now, do you think that Nightmare chose Elsbeth specifically? Or was he just waiting for the right person to touch the card so that he could transfer himself? Do you think that was his goal the whole time?
I think that Ravyn well, actually, hold on. Maybe because Ravyn has the nightmare card, but he wasn't infected till he was like 13, right? And Elspeth was infected before him. But
And
her
he's
her
on.
uncle had touched the card before her, so it can't have been just whoever touched the card. Maybe he was
I
when he
wondered
was
if
a
he
child,
specifically chose her for a reason, that maybe
but
the infection in her was.
how would he have guaranteed that she would have been able to touch a nightmare card if there's only 2 created? Or maybe that's why
Well,
he
no,
waited 5
that's what I mean. I'm wondering if there was something specific about her that meant that he could be transferred over, or whether wasn't even a choice.
or maybe he's just been trying to by anybody who did that so that he could live in a sense, and it didn't work on anybody else.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if maybe
Yeah.
it was Elspeth was either the only person that touched the card that he could transfer over, or whether she touched the card and he had no choice. He couldn't stay in the card,
No, I feel like it probably was she's the only one that or maybe it just
and
has
he
to do with
wanted
her
out.
magic because she can see all the cards. Maybe she is, like, of the cards in a sense.
Yeah, so he
She's
wanted
got
out
it.
of the card,
Yeah,
right?
probably. I
Yeah.
would. If you're trapped in a card for 500 years and then all of a sudden you have someone to converse with,
He
I
doesn't really converse with her. He's really quite hostile and
yeah, but he has someone to listen to his blabbering.
yeah. Yes. Or maybe he was just waiting for her to come of age. I don't know. But I was like, I wonder if it was like he didn't mean to be taken out of a card or whether he was waiting for it. Like, and I guess that was like,
Or maybe it was
which
just
is
out of
it?
his control. Maybe it was something like little loophole that the spirit of the woods put in there. All right. The only other things I had on that chapter was it made note that Elm had left his scythe card at home for this journey and that he was, carrying a black horse instead. Which I get wanting the black horse, but like, why would you? I guess actually you probably wouldn't want the scythe because only the Rowans have them. So if you can't use it because then they'll know who you are. Okay.
Yeah, they were trying to go. Yeah, they were trying to stay incognito. And
Answered
that
my
was one of the things they were worried about, right? Were you seen? Did they know it was you? Because
Yeah.
that came up a lot.
Yeah, it did. So also, why do you think that Ravyn had her ride behind Elm instead of ride behind himself?
I
He
think it was
obviously
having her
cares
too
for her.
close. Yeah, too close, touching. Because he admits that he wanted her right from the get-go, right? Later on in the book, and I'm like, I think it was that having her right behind him would have
You
been
wouldn't be able to
too
focus on the
intimate.
task at hand.
Yeah, too intimate. He's trying
Alright.
to be in the zone, right? Just about to rob
Yeah,
somebody of the card. I think that she would have been a distraction he couldn't afford.
for sure.
Yeah, because I'm not being funny, but she's become one of my favorite female MCs in any book.
Really?
She's one of my top 3. I really
Really?
enjoy her. Yeah, really enjoy her.
I think I prefer and I mean, I understand why she is the way that she is, but I definitely prefer the sassier, wittier, body little I prefer that in them, in my
You know
FMC.
what? I normally do, but I think that she's a really nice it was a nice change of pace. So she
Absolutely.
had a quiet strength about her. I
Yes.
can't wait to
Alright, chapter 19? Hell yeah. Okay. So, from the start of this whole thing, Elspeth knows something's wrong because there are far too many horses, and she's able to see an iron gate, which is what they're going for, 4 black horses, and a scythe. Prince Rowan is here.
Do you know what?
Hmm.
There was one when I realized he was there, I was like, I would have aborted the mission.
Yeah, but they're on a time crunch, and they're already here, and they're armed.
I
But
was
it
just
probably
like,
would have been
"Okay."
smart. Yeah, because he's a dick.
Yes. Sorry, carry on.
So she warns Ravyn, and he immediately relays the message to their crew, as well as telling them that the iron cart is in the first carriage. So the ambush begins. Our crew's shooting arrows, trying to obstruct the road to get them to stop. And Ravyn tells Elspeth to run, and she does, and
Yes.
she runs straight into her father, which was wild.
For hit. I'm like, of all the fucking lot, yeah.
Yeah. So he elbows her hard in the cheek and she drops and is crawling for cover. And somehow Elm gets in altercation with her father and he's losing his fight. And Elspeth actually is fearful for Elm of all people. And so instinctively she grabs a rock and she hurls it at her dad's head. And she's able to strike him and get him to stop right before he delivers a killing blow to Elm. And so Elm is able to escape and her father turns on her. So they face each other and they both pull their knives and she knows he's going to throw this knife.
Mhm.
And so she begs the nightmare for help and he answers and she is able to catch the knife midair and kick him. Yeah, it's badass. And kick him in the diaphragm and pin him with her blade at his throat. And for the first time ever, she sees fears, fear in her dad's eyes. And then chaos comes crashing back in and a panicked horse kind of runs by and slams her to the ground. And Jesper hauls her up and they run and they intercept another destrier and Jesper starts fighting him and she knocks him unconscious and then she freezes when she sees Elspeth's yellow eyes. But Jesper realizes she has lost her charm in the fighting and salt fills the air and Elspeth also realizes that she left her charm back at Castle U.
Mhm.
Jesper flees deeper into the woods and she's like panicking and it's pulling her straight into the mist. And Elspeth chases her as she's hearing Jesper scream for help. And whenever she gets her, she's all tangled in vines and her ankle's all twisted and her eyes are unfocused and the mist is kind of taking over her. So Elspeth cuts her free and she runs to go get help because Ravyn still is carrying his extra charm. But upon running, it is a very busy chapter. Upon running,
Oh my
she
god, it was
hears
packed.
yeah, she hears Hoth and Destriers talking, and they are close. Like they're very close. So close that Hoth hears and he's like, "Who's there?" And she thinks that she's escaped them until Hoth appears right behind her and grabs and twists her wrists. And yeah, and pain shoots up her arm, and Elspeth strikes him, and then she claws him from his neck down to his shoulder, and she's able to run and get away and she finds Ravyn, who is holding 3 carts instead of his 2. And she tells him that Hoth broke her wrist and she warns him about Jesper. So they run to Jesper. Ravyn gives her his extra charm and she kind of comes back too. And the rest of the group regathers and we learn that Ravyn has in fact secured the Iron Gate. So
Yes.
mission accomplished. And Elm admits the truth that Elspeth fought off her father and that he would be dead otherwise, which
Yes.
is so big of him. He does not trust her or like her or anything. And not only is he going to admit that he needed help and that he was in a vulnerable position, but he's going to admit that she's the one that saved his ass. I love that.
I do too. I really enjoyed that. But it
Yeah.
makes you wonder. Like I know that we mentioned about the cards and that she's worried about like Nightmare taking over, but she didn't even think about her dad's safety. Not one.
So it makes
She
me
threw the
wonder
rock. But I wondered if it's
because Elm could have killed
Nightmare's.
him.
Yeah, but it's Nightmare's influence is kind of
He
like
was leading
foreshadowing
her.
behind our eyes, opposed to him taking over. That maybe he's managing to break through more than we're realizing.
Yeah, because he wasn't taking over them because she didn't ask for his help until her father was about to throw the
No.
knife.
No, but I'm wondering if maybe he's having like a like when you say like someone's in a bad mood and you can feel their energy and you can kind of feel like you're in a bad
Yeah.
mood. I wondered if maybe he's influencing her in a way that he's not taking over, but it's making her less human.
More impulsive and reckless
Yeah, like I wrote something down
because
about
he
Nightmare
likes
being
the
really.
yeah, he likes
Yeah.
to stir the pot. He likes that. So
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I wondered if maybe he's in the background is like manipulating her personality rather than taking over. 'Cause that would make
maybe
sense as to why she's got no familial, like, cares right now.
I mean, if it because it's Elm and not Raven, it makes me question it a little bit more. If it were Raven, I wouldn't question it because yes, her dad cares about her, but still, he did send her away. Like, he's not how
Yeah.
long has he not been captain of the Destriers? It's been a while, right?
It's been a
Because
long
Raven
time,
went to go
yeah.
train with them at the age of 14, and he's now, like, what, 21, 22. So
Yeah,
why wouldn't
something
she
like
have been able to go back and live with her family? Because he chose
I wondered the same.
he chose her step family over her. So that's gotta
Yeah.
hurt. So now she has this newfound family of sorts who are
So you think
choosing
she's got
her,
feminine
even
rage?
though it's out of necessity. What?
I was like, so you think she's got feminine rage then? It's just her rage.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think it's a mix, but I do see some of that coming out, but also this is the first time in her life that she's acted on anything. She was just kinda going with the flow, living
Yeah.
with her uncle before, and now she's thrown in the shit, and she's having
Yeah.
to think on her feet and, rebel and save people's lives.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
you
don't
might
know.
be right. I was like, I wonder if maybe he's just rubbing off on her and she's losing some of her humanity as she's going. Like, so I know
Maybe.
she's losing herself. I'm like, I wonder how much influence he really has when he doesn't take over. Like, is he
Yeah.
the personality rubbing off? And I'm like, I wonder what Hannah thinks about that. I write a lot of Hannah notes, just so you know. Ask Hannah this. What does Hannah think?
I feel special.
You are. I love it. You covered that
Like
great. That was a lot going
well,
on.
I have one more little thing. So Raven, when he's binding her wrist, he asks who hurt her, and she says, Hoth. And he said, "Oh, you never told me how you got away from him." And she says, "Perhaps it was he who got away from me." Fucking
I loved that. I absolutely loved that. But that's what I mean, she wouldn't normally act this way, and
yeah,
it's
well,
really
that's her owning who she is now, and she is with the nightmare. They are together, so that's the first time we see her kinda own it and be like, "Yeah, I'm a badass.
yeah, well, she is.
I
It's
am
quite
capable."
terrifying.
Yeah.
That's quite
I
terrifying
think
because
the
she's using
nightmare
the nightmare she's using the nightmare a lot more now, right, than she
yeah.
was. Yeah.
But like I said, she's never lived this kinda life before. Her life was kinda easygoing before all this.
Very quiet, very pedestrian. There was something else I wondered too. I wondered if it's because they get into crunch time now with the mist that Nightmare is getting quite desperate for the cards to be found. Does he want them to be found or does he not want them to be found?
I'm sure he probably does want them to be found. Well, the
Would he
Providence
be free?
I don't know actually because it's going to lift the mist. It's not is it
Yeah.
going to also rid the world of the Providence cards?
That's what I wondered. Does that mean that then his soul would be freed from the deal?
Probably,
Okay, because I wondered if
probably.
maybe that was like the driving point right now is that he wants this to be over.
I could
Fuck, I have a
imagine
lot
after
of questions.
500 years. But
Wouldn't you?
I think that the Nightmare thoroughly enjoyed this chapter. Like this whole heist or this whole
What
journey.
I
I think
wrote
he
he
really
finds I was like, he's hilarious. Some of the shit he was popping out is funny.
yeah.
I he's one of my favorite characters, and that's so bad.
That's why I couldn't do the audiobook because the voice that she does for him, I was like, nope, that's not him. Because I
No.
just read it the first time through.
Well, I tried to get the audiobook because I wanted to hear it. I wanted the voices in my head, but my library doesn't even have it.
I have it. I don't for some reason I don't like this one. This is a reading book for me.
Yeah, well, you said that about the Nightmare voice, and I'm like, "Okay, I won't use an Audible credit then because I've
Well,
banked a few."
it's very kind of feminine sounding. Like it doesn't have an eerie. She doesn't try to deepen it at all. It's I don't know. And then
Really?
also in the first couple chapters, I heard his voice, I didn't like it, and then I also heard Ione was Ione, and I was like, "I'm just gonna read this book."
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because we were talking about how some books need to be read in an audiobook, and I bought The Night and the Moth. Well, technically, it's funny I say I didn't buy it. It was on my Amazon, and my daughter was like, "You need that book. Let's do that right now." She's 7. She was like, "Yeah,
Well,
we
she
need to
has
do
good
that."
taste.
Yeah, don't hesitate. So I'm actually quite excited to start the to give it a
Well,
read.
let me know when you wanna do it. We can do a deep dive in that one.
Ooh, can
I
we?
am
Can we do it
down.
after these then? Can we do it
Do what?
after these ones then? Can we do it after this duology?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah? Okay. Nice.
I actually wanted to reread it right after I finished it, and I started rereading it, but I only made it to, like, chapter 7 or 8 before I ended up I was reading, like, too many other books, and I was like, "I'll come back to it whenever I've had a longer break."
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes
I will
sense. But now
when
I'm in the Rachel Gillig mindset. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
I'd
it's
like to
really
see if I was wrong with the audiobook. And I'm kind of thinking I might be.
I think that a lot of fantasy books are better read eyes to page because there's so much world building and there's so many, like, terms and names that aren't in our everyday vocabulary.
Yeah.
So I think that I don't know, I think that books with that much depth are better read than listened to, unless you do it dual and you do them together.
Yeah, you might be right there, but I actually read Fourth Wing and I did the audiobook and I actually preferred audio.
Really. I don't
Yeah.
I think whenever I first read it, I read Fourth Wing, but I listened to Iron Flame.
Oh, okay.
And I ended up buying Iron Flame on Kindle because I didn't wanna just listen to it, I wanted to read it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to very much enjoy reading it. So, yeah, deep diving it would be great.
Cool, I'm down.
Are you ready for chapter 20?
Yeah, let's go.
So now they have the card and they're all kind of smug about it. They're all like, yeah, we got it. But Elspeth is in a lot of pain after having her wrist broken like that. And Ravyn offers to ride with her instead of Elm. Now, he mentions that he doesn't carry a charm for the same reason everybody else does. And I wondered, is that because he's infected? He
Because
doesn't
he's what?
need a charm?
Infected? Yeah, he
Yeah.
doesn't need a charm to go under the mist.
So why does she carry a charm then?
She didn't know that she didn't need a charm until he just recently told her.
Okay, because I'm like, why does I'm guessing he has them for other people, which makes complete sense, but I'm like, why was she worried about it then if she didn't need it? So
Yeah,
it has to
he
be
told her a couple chapters ago in the garden, he told her that they didn't need it because they are essentially the mist. They're infected already.
yeah, okay. Because I kind of wondered that, and I'm like, I just checked to make sure that I'm thinking correctly here.
Yeah.
Now, he mentions that he wasn't sure it was her running towards him because she had yellow eyes when she was running, and he's assuming that it was the infection and that this is part of the cost. Now, I was like, that's putting it mildly as fuck. The reason she's got yellow eyes is, yeah, the cost is high, bro. He tells her that when they arrive back, there will be a lot of eyes on them for the next little while, because they're pretending to be caught in, and she's okay with that. And for me, they got this, like, little flirt thing going on, and
Yeah.
I'm like because it's so slow burn between the 2 of them, and normally I don't like that, but I'm actually really enjoying how slowly it's weaving together and how cute they're being with each other. And he
Yeah.
admits pretending is easier than anything else he does, which I thought was really funny because, like, they just got into a big fight, right? Like, they were trying to steal this card. They just got into
Yeah.
they barely made it out with their lives, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, pretending to court you is, like, really easy." And she is not happy about that. And after they just went through all of that, he asks her to call him Raven, and I'm like,
And that was kind of her accepting. He was like, "Well, if we're gonna be pretending, you shouldn't call
"Yeah,
me captain. You
you
should call me
should
Raven."
yeah."
And so
And
even
I
though
was
she
like
didn't answer his question, that was answer in itself.
yeah. And I'm like, that's so cute because like the first name thing is like that's when you're familiar with somebody, especially like in the time they're trying to say that they're from. And I was like, that's so cute. Like you have to
Yeah.
first name me. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so fucking cute. Now she
Yeah.
goes to her room and her flower crown is on her pillow. And the rose petal that's on it is blood red. And I'm like, why is that relevant?
They
Why
mentioned it being red in the garden too. I don't know.
yeah, but now it says it's blood red. Now, why
Mm,
did she pick up on that? And why was that a thing?
I don't know.
I'm like, that seems like a weird thing to mention at this point. And I'm like, what did I miss there? that
Yeah,
now this is I don't
I don't
know.
think you missed anything. I remember it being red in the garden, but I don't remember being
Yeah.
blood red on the bed, but
Yeah, but
also
then it was but it's blood red on her pillow, and I'm like, "What is that signifying?
I don't
Like, what are
know,
they trying to
she had
tell me that I
hid it
fucking
on her
missed?"
pillow or something?
Yeah, I don't know, and I was like, because I went back and looked, and it just said red in the garden, and now it said blood red, and I'm like, "Fuck, I missed
Cinderella house
something."
colors are red, right?
Are they?
I believe so. They're either red or green. Maybe they're
Okay.
green.
Okay.
No, U's I think are green.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I don't know, it stuck out in my head, and again, I was like, "I wanna Google this, but I can't because I don't do that."
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, but it was bothering me. It was it was bothering me. I don't know why. Now, she wakes up after a weird dream of a creature snarling at her to let him out. And again, I'm like, it's the Shepherd King. I swear to fucking God, I would bet my life on it. And I wrote that. I'm like, I bet my life that this is the Shepherd King
Yeah.
snarling to be let out of her. Now her wrist is in agony after being binded. And I'm like, this is not going to look good at all to anybody who knows that the assailant's wrist was broken after they took the card and she's got a hurt fucking wrist. And I'm like, I don't know how they're fucking going to get away with that. And I
Yeah.
noted that. And then I kept reading. And I'm like, it says, her and Ravyn have a little flirt fest again. And she says he is no destrier. He is a highwayman. And I was fucking laughing my head off
I
because I know
like
she
that.
seems, I did too. I'm like, she's taken something that she didn't like and feared and changed it into now it's like, it was like a flirty banter. And I was like, Mom, this book really, like, I think I spent more time going, "Aw," than
Yeah,
anything
I really like
else.
their build up.
Yeah, I do too. I think Rachel did a really phenomenal job of building everything up to my satisfaction. And I'm not a hard person to please, but she did a phenomenal job. And not only are they flirting, but Ione is also there. And she looks even more stunning than she did the last time she saw her. And she is talking about how things are more strained between them and she can feel it. And it was funny because I could feel like the coldness between them. It was coming off the page in ripples. So I
Yeah.
thought that was really interesting that she's kind of frosty and I could feel it. It was crazy. And Ione wants to know what happened to her arm. And she said she fell off a horse. And I'm like, that was clever because
Yeah.
she would have known that she did these things to animals, so that would make sense. And that seems like a really clever thing to have put out there. And I was like, okay,
Well,
maybe that's how she fixes that problem.
the best lie is to sprinkle it with some truth.
Most truthful lie. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, she's so smart. I love her. But
Yeah.
then Ione makes it sound like she thinks the Yules are abusive people. But, like the way she said it, and I'm like, wow, that's rich coming from you. Isn't your prince a real fucking piece of shit?
Right?
I'm like, but you're saying these things about these Yule men that you don't really know anything about, and you're making some big assumptions there, right? Now, Elm walks in, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I thought that was so funny. So Elm walks in, and it's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And she retorts she is there to talk to his brother, as she heard they were there for training. And Elspeth gets really upset because she thought she was there to see her. And she was like, well, two birds,
Two
one
birds.
stone. And she was like, I
Yeah.
haven't been to the castle since I thought it was haunted as a girl. And Elm, fuck it, the quip, man. Who says it isn't haunted? And I was like,
I we don't even know him that much at this point, but we will get to know him.
you know what? And I already really like him. He does not take bullshit easy.
This
Like,
is
no.
what I remember of this duology is Elm was my man over
Yeah.
Raven, actually.
Yeah. I actually can see that. I can
We
see
get a
that.
lot more character development with him over the rest of the duology for sure. So the only things that I made note of on that chapter is that whenever Elspeth was riding back to the castle on the horse with Raven, it mentions that the nightmare often goes quiet around him. And I think that's fascinating and I want to know why. I don't have any theories on it.
What I did after reading some of the later chapters,
Okay.
they stole the crown from him. So the crown was stolen by his family from the
Ye-
Shepherd King. So I didn't know if it had
well,
something to do with that.
maybe. But no, that's the Brutus Rowan stole the crown from him. Raven is
It's
a
still his
you.
lineage, right? But that's still his family, right?
Maybe. No, Emery's theory is that they are of the lineage of the Shepherd King, not of the Rowans.
Oh. Oh, you know what? Maybe. I know he has a nightmare card and it's not got his soul in there, but I'm wondering if the 2 nightmare cards being close together would cause something?
Like a yin and yang kinda balance?
Yeah, like, maybe it's, like, the other piece of the coin that he quietens him down, makes him less rowdy? I don't know, it's a good
Maybe.
question.
Or
See,
maybe
that's
the
what I
night
mean. I put it down to the fact that the crown was stolen from him and maybe he just let's
but I
he's
don't
lost
think that
soul.
that would be that explains the resentment and the outward distaste towards Elm and Hoth and the king. But Ravyn is yes, he's their cousin slash whatever, but he's not of that same family. So I
Right.
don't know that that would be it. But I'm curious, like maybe the nightmare has a fondness towards Elspeth, and he, however much taunting he does, he ultimately wants to protect her, and maybe he knows that Ravyn
Yeah.
can do that. And so maybe he chills out and, like, takes a back seat.
Aw, that's really sweet. Aw.
Also, the only other thing that I made note of in this chapter is that when Ione came up, you said she was more beautiful than ever, but she was not carrying the maiden card,
Yeah.
and Providence cards aren't limited by distance, but apparently, like, actually using the magic and not having it with you to be able to tap it off is, like, a huge risk, and nobody ever really does it. Like, it's very frowned.
Yeah, but you know what? I wondered if maybe she wasn't allowed to take it out the castle.
We will find out.
Yes, we will.
That is the only other things I had on there. You ready to move on?
I am.
Okay. Chapter 21 asks Elspeth if she's heard the news that highwaymen attacked Hoth, and Elspeth is like, "No, how would I have heard the news?" And Ione admits that she was surprised by Elspeth and Ravyn's courtship, and she warns her to be careful. Again, everyone is warning her to be careful because there's so much
What?
Elspeth doesn't know. I think that the haunting and old magic in Castle U, I guess, but in her
Like,
warning, go ahead.
I just wondered if maybe there was rumblings that he wasn't on the king's side?
Maybe, but I feel like if the king had any inkling that Ravyn was, going against him, that there would be punishment. I
Yeah,
don't
but
think he
they'd
would
have
allow him to
proof.
be free and run around and do his thing.
Yeah, maybe.
But in all of Ione's warning her to be careful, it doesn't come across as worried. It comes across as cold.
Yeah. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. So Destriers are assembling in the yard, and Hoth is there, and his neck shows 4 huge, deep gash marks. It looks like he's been clawed by some massive feral cat. And Elspeth is staring, and she's kind of shaken, and she's like, "Oh my god, did I do that?" And it has to be like kind of knock you off a little bit to like look at that and be like, "I don't even have claws." Like, what?
Where did they come from?
Yeah, so she's, internally freaking out, and Ravyn grazes her hand to kinda comfort her because he notices, and then Raven's like, "Alright, we need to train." Also, notice something else. She notices that whenever Ione is looking at Hoth, there's these brief flashes of hatred in her eyes, which I found interesting, and Hoth starts recounting the ambush and telling them what all happened. You know, that the highwaymen were after Pine and Spindle, and that they stole the Iron Gate and they maimed him, and Elspeth knows that he heard her cry out in pain whenever he broke her wrist. Yet he did not say that a woman did it. He said that he broke his wrist. I think that's a little bit of a pride, but also I have another theory maybe later. I don't know. We'll see.
Is it pride or did her face more?
I don't think her face morphs. I think that, well, actually, because in the last chapter, whenever she looked in the mirror, she had a little glimpse into the mirror and it showed fur and claws and everything. But I don't think that her whole body takes over because whenever, like, she's had the nightmare, help her before. And like on the road with Ravyn and Elm and all of that in the beginning of the book. And they would have noticed a creature because she wasn't wearing a mask or anything then.
No.
So they would have noticed.
No, but the more she uses him, the more he takes control. So
Yeah.
is it more of him coming out each time?
I mean, we see the claws coming out. So
That's what I mean. So maybe the face changes. But again, you've just said that thing now where you're like, was it a pride thing? I'm like, fuck, I didn't think of that.
yeah, he would never admit to being bested by a woman, you know?
No. Would you?
I mean, I would, but Hoth wouldn't.
Even if you're a man.
Yeah. Oh, no. So, whenever Hoth says that he broke his wrist, Ione looks directly at Elspeth. So she's
Mhm.
got her little gears turning. And then I absolutely loved that Elm kinda outwardly taunts Hoth a little bit here, and that Ione seems amused. And Elm realizes that she seems amused, and he smiles. I like all of that they're kind of on the same team here, even though they're not.
They're not, yeah.
Yeah. So Raven and Hoth are paired to spar, and Hoth is using his black horse for speed. And even so, Raven is able to slam him down and asks what the mint looks like. He wants to know if he knows anything. And so Hoth says that they wore masks, so he didn't see anything. And then Raven proceeds to stomp on Hoth's hand and snap it. And the nightmare is delighted. And I love that. And Ione is laughing. And I love how many people hate this guy. And they're just, showing their glee on their face.
I know. Brilliant.
So Elspeth is pretty sure at this point that Ione suspects her. And she's not sure that whatever version of Ione this is someone that she trusts.
Yeah.
So later, Elspeth walks into the castle halls and she overhears Elm speaking. And Elm is saying that they don't really know what happened. And he's talking about Spindle's abilities and saying that it looked like an animal attack.
Yeah.
And Elm suggests that Raven use his nightmare card in order to learn more. And we hear Raven refuse. Elm also says that breaking Hoth's hand was reckless, which it kind of was. But
Yeah.
he's standing up
But
for
I
his
liked it.
woman/not woman at this point.
Yeah.
So Elspeth then steps into her room, and right after she hears 3 knocks, and Raven is there. He'd heard her, and he apologizes for her having to see Hoth. And then he kind of goes into a little bit of history, saying that Hoth really hates the infection, and that ever since the king named Raven captain of the Destriers, that his relationship with Hoth has been kind of hostile. And we learn that Hoth reported Raven's infection to the king, and he also reported Emery's infection to the king, that little twat. So
Yes.
it ends on Raven wanting to show Elspeth something.
Yeah. You freaking nailed it. The only thing I wrote in there was about Own. And I'm like, I know that she doesn't trust her, like the version of her with it, but she covered for her.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, we went riding and she fell off her horsey. Like, so I'm like, Because when Elspeth told the story, she turned around and said, I fell off my horse. And now she's inserted herself into that. And I'm like, for me, that felt like she was protecting her.
She's got a deep-rooted love for her. So even though this maiden card is, chilling her heart in a sense, I think that runs deep and it doesn't override her distaste for Hoth. And we don't know what's going on with her and Hoth right now, but obviously she does not like him.
No, and that's coming across very clearly. But she's had the maiden card no time at all. So does the cold heart thing kick in this quick?
I think if you use it that long, I think most of the people probably tap the card on and tap it off as needed. But I don't think
So
we've
you
seen her
think she's
without
left
it
that long? Because
a
it
lot.
felt like she was being very cold very quickly, and I thought that these things happened gradually, and she's barely had the card, so why is she so frosty?
You'll learn. I actually know the answer to this one, but I'm not going to tell you. This is one of the things that I do remember.
Okay, fine. I will wait.
Patience, my friend.
It's hard.
I know.
This is the only book that I have desperately wanted to know things. So desperately that I came close to spoiling it.
Well, I'm proud of you
Close,
for
and I
not.
mean close. Yeah, but it never happened to me before. I'm not that
I had
person.
it typed out and I was hovering over the enter button.
Are you ready for chapter 22?
Yeah, let's go.
So the little black thing at the top, I found answered a question that I had about the infection. And it says, magic born of infection is immeasurable, unfathomable, it owes no loyalty, keeps no rules. For some, it carries great unyielding power, for others, darkness and degeneration. Again, it's talking about how it seems like it doesn't always degenerate everybody. They talk about it with the cards earlier on, and now they're talking about it with the infection. So not everyone goes nuts. So does the king know that? Does the king know that the infection does not degenerate everybody? And if he does, why isn't he waiting to see?
I mean, I'm sure he does know he has the same access to the old Book of Altars as everybody else does.
That's what I mean. So he knows this and he's killing all these kids for no reason anyway. And that just made me really fucking angry.
Yeah, the king's not a good man.
So the fact that they're keeping this from him, like the card thing, I didn't understand it until now. It's at this point where I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm on their side.
Yeah.
So Raven wants to show Elspeth something, so they take the servant stairs out, and I kind of thought that was so that they wouldn't be seen leaving. Now they go back to that one room again, and Nightmare is losing his shit. He wants to go inside so bad.
Let me in.
Yeah, let me in. And it's like as badly as he did the first time round, but that's where they're heading, so it's not like she can stop him. It's the room from her dreams, and Nightmare is still talking in riddles, and I kind of like that he talks in riddles
I
because
love
it
it.
makes me think more. Yeah, it makes me think, and I love that. And Raven admits to coming to play in that room as a child, and he wants to show her something. And he cuts his hand and places it on a stone, and everything stills. There's all these lights, and the place hides the Providence cards in this stone, and it's his collection. And I was like,
Mhm.
"Aw, he trusts her." He's hoping that now somebody else knows about this. If something happens to him, someone else knows where
Hold
these
on,
cards
it's
are.
trying to
And I'm
reconnect
like,
you.
that's who he picked. And I'm like, oh my God, I love it. Now he admits that he stumbled on the place by accident. Like he ended up there when he was playing and he had a scrape on his shoulder and the blood opened the rock. Now, this is because he's infected, right? Has to
These
be
were
someone with infected blood. Now, Nightmare always talks with riddles. And he's saying an offering bartered with blood. That's how the spirit bargains, always with blood.
come
So
on.
the Shepherd King had built her this chamber
Hold
at the
on.
edge of the wood, this altar, and here they barter. Well, you're gone again.
That's so weird. Okay. That was a normally it'll kick me out and it'll say, "You glitch," and you're blurry for most of the time, which is really annoying.
Really? I'm
And
the
so
only one
sometimes
on my modem.
you what?
I'm the only one on my modem.
Yeah, and I called my husband, I'm like, "Can you get off everything?" He's like, "I am off everything." And I'm like, "Okay, well, F me then, right?"
Weird. We have 2 services in the house, and when I do my podcast, he switches all the kids over to the other one so that I'm by
Smart.
myself.
We
I'm
might
like,
have to
"Oh my
do
gosh."
that because mine's a gamer and all the kids are always watching TV. Alright, so
See, we have to. Sorry, what did you
yeah.
say?
The last thing I remember you or heard you say was that in the stone was his collection.
Our collection. Really? That was up here. Okay.
Yeah, it, like, froze and I could not hear anything, and I was like, "Hopefully she's not asking me a
Okay.
question."
Okay, I'll go back to there then.
Okay.
So Raven admits coming to play in the room as a child, and he wants to show her something in there. He cuts his hand and places it on a stone, and everything stills, and all these bright lights come out, and the place literally hides the Providence cards. It's like his little collection. And I'm like, he trusts her so much. He trusts her to the point that she's the only person that knows they're there. And she has to have the infected blood. Like, that's what he says, right? They have to have infected blood to be able to open the rock. So I'm like, that is so fucking cute that that's who he picks. Like, he's had all his family around and people he trusts, and this is the person he picks. And I was just like, my baby. And he mentions that he stumbled by the place by accident, that he had a graze on his shoulder in the blood, and he goes on the rock. And that's how he found out about it. Now, this part I thought was absolutely brilliant. Nightmare, who always seems to be talking in riddles, says, an offering bartered with blood. That's how the spirit bargains, always with blood. So the Shepherd King built her this chamber at the edge of the woods, this altar, and here they barter. Now, I had this really outlandish thought in my head. I know that he screws her over, where people stop going to her because he had the cards, but it feels like a lover's quarrel. Is there a chance that the two of them at some point,
Mm.
and she's a woman scorned? Because this seems like a really massive overreaction to what's going on.
I don't think
And
he
I'm like, am I really
intentionally
out there?
screwed her over. I think that it was just a trickle down effect. After having all these cards, they didn't need her. I don't think it was an intentional, "I'm gonna do this to screw her over." I think he was just wanted to provide for his people and wanted more power.
Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
it feels like she feels like he hurt her and now she's punishing him. And I'm like, I'm probably completely off base here, but I'm like, I wrote that down and I was like, I just
When
wonder if that was why.
in reality, it is equally her responsibility or her doing and screwing her own self over because she was
Yeah.
greedy for the whatever bargain things he gave her. And so they did it
Yeah.
together. It's not like he
Yeah.
did it out of spite or anything. She partook in that equally.
Yeah, you're right. It made me wonder if maybe the two of them had like this
I don't
flirtation or
think
love.
so. I don't know.
No, that was where my head went, and I'm like, "Fuck, I'm probably completely off my rocker." But I really like the fact that the only people that can open it have infected blood because that's the
Yeah.
king's blood, right? Because he carried the infection, and I was like, that's kinda cool." So we discovered that every year he loses one of the uses of another card, and I'm like, "Now is that because the infection is
That's his
degenerating him? Or is it
degeneration.
because they're on a time crunch right now? Like, somebody had mentioned that the mist was getting to the point where, like, they're not gonna survive this. Like, it's getting to the point now where if the mist takes over, they're done for. So I wondered if it was the mist encroaching that was making the cards, like, doing this to these people, or whether it is literally just the infection.
I think it's his infection and his degeneration because it's not doing that to anybody else, and he did mention that
Yeah.
that is his degeneration.
Yeah, because I was like, it seems to be like Emery's, like, really in a bad place, right? And I just wondered if it was maybe more to do with the fact that once the mist is fully taken over and there's no fixing that, the degeneration just happens quicker.
I think the degeneration just happens at a different rate for every person. For some
Yeah.
people, it's slow and steady, and some people, it's like, bam, all at once.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
Ravens is just more on the slow and steady, less detrimental route. Like, yeah, not being able to use the cars is like a slow
That's pretty
suffocation. It's sad in its own sense, but it's not like you're legit losing your mind like your brother.
yeah. Yeah, I guess my brain goes into some weird spots
Yeah,
sometimes, but I just know
you're trying to solve the puzzle.
yeah, well, I really wanna know now, and I guess my brain's, like, trying to piece things together that probably don't make sense. Now, he notes that her heart is racing, and they're touching, and that's why, and then they finally kiss, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm glad that they kiss at this point in the book. Like, I'm glad it didn't happen sooner." And then she opens her eyes while they're kissing, and something is over her shoulder, and it says, "Elspeth Spindle, let me out," and it was the knight.
Uh-huh.
But then it was gone. And she literally flees from seeing that, and he thinks that she was probably fleeing because they kissed. And I'm like, "Aw." That's probably where she should have gone. What the fuck was that? So she asks Nightmare what is happening to her, and he says, "I know what I know." I'm like, fuck. He gives her nothing. There
Yeah.
is a nothing bagger in her fucking heart. And I'm like, why is he like this? Like, why won't he tell her the truth? And he finally relents and tells her that he is an echo of a man who built the room for the spirit of the word, the man he once was. And I fucking knew he was a shepherd
Mhm.
king. I knew it.
Yeah.
And I was like vindicated. I was like, my husband's like, you're such a nah.
I got something right. Yes. Yeah. So that's awesome. It was always there. She never lied to us. So the one thing that I made note of in that chapter is that Ravyn was talking about Elm and he said how loyal he is and that the king didn't like his weakness as a child. So when his mom died, Elm was super mistreated and Hoth brutalized him. And Ravyn kind of took him into you and accepted him as part of his family.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you
I don't know. Raven is so sweet.
He's a solid guy. Like
Yeah.
I like him. And one
Me
of my
too.
questions on this chapter, because he opened up and we got to hear a little bit about like, his trauma and everything is I had put you weren't a Raven fan. How do you feel about him now? But you answered that earlier.
Oh no. It took me a while to warm up to him, but I think that the book was written in such a way that I was in pace with Elspeth and how she was
Ye-
feeling about him. You know what I mean? Except obviously I'm not in love with him because I don't actually know him. But like she kind of was like the distaste and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
one question I do have is what happens when he loses in 2 more years when he loses the ability to use any of the cards?
They still don't work on him though, right?
They don't work on him, but, like, if that's his degeneration, wouldn't that be his degeneration is complete? Does he die? Does he lose his mind? Or is that it? He just can't use the cards?
I think that's probably it because it doesn't seem like anything else is happening to him. Not losing his marbles.
Yeah.
His body's not losing anything. He just won't be able to use the cards anymore. But it's coming up to the point where it's crunch time. Can't remember the exact date they gave. Didn't they say something about like equinoxes?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
they have to have it done by then. So it won't matter. Won't matter.
If they
Once
succeed. Alright, you ready for chapter 23?
I am.
Okay. So this chapter starts off Elspeth wakes up near the ruins of the old castle, and she's damp and dirty and laying in the grass, and it's all flattened around her. So Philip Willow is out for his morning walk, and he finds her and asks if she's all right, and she's like, "Oh, I must have sleptwalked." So he brings her in and gives her tea, and they get to talking, and she learns that the Willows have served as physicians for generations, and they had actually tried to cure the infection instead of hunting those who carried it. So they speak of the Shepherd King and of how he was tricked, that he didn't actually know that he would need the Twin Alders card until after he bartered it away.
Yes.
And that after his fall, Brutus Rowan, because it said in an earlier chapter that none of the Shepherd King's children had survived. So after his fall, Brutus Rowan claimed the throne and shaped the old Book of Alders into doctrine. And he twisted its words and actually turned them into weapons against the infected. So there's a theory that Brutus did not inherit the crown, that he stole it. And at this point, the nightmare laughs, which got
Mhm.
me thinking. I'm like, why? Why are you laughing? Unless it's not true. I don't know. So she leaves and she's lecturing, in her head, the nightmare / Shepherd King, saying that he can't make her sleepwalk again. They're going to fucking get caught. So Elspeth also asks him why she's seeing his memories. And he's like, well, you have a theory. And her theory is that he's getting stronger while she's fading and that is her degeneration. And every time she asks for help, he grows stronger. So he says he cannot take her mind. He's only capable of what he is willfully given, which is true. And she hears the gestures and Elma's there. And he's like, all right, hurry up, go get in your house colors. We're going out soon. It's market day. Oh, that is all I had that actually happened. I'm just curious as to why the nightmare laughed when he said that Brutus stole the crown.
Yeah, I wondered the same thing because this is why I thought that they had stolen the crown. But I'm also wondering if he was already in the card by that point. Maybe the crown was just there was no one ruling. If none of his kids survived and he was in the card, was the throne just open?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
If that were the case, though, that wouldn't explain the amount of hate that the Shepherd King has towards them. The stealing of the crown would make
Maybe they
sense.
killed all the kids. But did they explain why his kids didn't make it?
No, we don't know that yet.
So many questions.
Yeah.
Put this book on. Oh my God, the questions.
I know. That's all I have on that one.
No, you nailed it. It wasn't a very big chapter. I
No,
don't
it
think.
wasn't.
Really short one. Yeah. So she's trying to remember what her mother looked like while she's looking at herself in the looking glass because she's wearing her house colors, but she needs a mask. And Jesper's like, we'll grab you one. Don't worry about that. I got you. So Jesper and Bess walk up to the group that includes the prince, Ione, and Ravyn, and she is remembering what it's like to kiss him. And the prince apologizes for being a dick the day before, and he kind of looks her up and down and wonders what she sees in his cousin. And she's like, he's not interested in me. He's playing a fucking game. And I'm like, yeah, it is. So she's looking at Ravyn and she's like, she knows they're connected. And she knows that the nightmare card's a big part of that. And she's thinking all that in her head. But she turns around and says to the prince, he's tall. Because the prince is not tall.
Yeah, which I love because there's nothing he can do about that.
And he was just like, he straightens a little bit. And I was laughing.
Yeah,
It was so
I enjoyed
odd.
that too.
I was so lucky that I turned my head because I literally cackled so hard I spat a bit. I'm like, fuck, thank God that didn't go on the book. I'm like, she is so quick. So quick. And he asked what is wrong with her arm. And Ione steps in, think fuck. But I'm like, does she really know? Like, does she know that it was her in the forest?
She's got to know.
Or is she just...
She's got to
She
know.
has to know.
Because
There's no other way around.
Because then there'd be no reason to lie and say, I went riding with her, as opposed to she fell off on her own. So she is covering for her. And also, she's probably really got a good read on Elspeth. They grew up together. So she can see, these emotions flickering across her face. She's got to know.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know where Ione lands at this point. And I guess neither does Elspeth, right? Now, when she is free of him, she asks Elm if he knows. If he thinks he knows that it was her, then he's like, he's a moron. No, there's no way he could know it was you. Like, even though he asked, there's no way. And it was the way that Elm said it. And I'm like, I love him. I love him. He's awesome. So she wants to go into her father's house where all these festivities are going on and he isn't home to take the card. And Elm's like, fuck no, we're not doing that. Now, Nightmare had been silent, but now he's clawing her mind, urging her to be really careful. So Elm is gone now and is replaced by Jasper, and she decides to head back towards her dad's house anyway. She wants to be useful. So she thinks she's going and she thinks she's alone, and the next thing she knows that she's getting there is that Raven's put his hand on her shoulder, and he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I just want to help. Like, she's struggling to know where she really fits. And Nightmare tells her to tell him how she feels. And I'm like, why? Why does Nightmare want her to be honest with him? And I'm like, it doesn't fit with what we know right now about how he is. And I'm like, okay. But she tries to What are you gonna say?
I was just gonna say it goes back to my question of like, why is the nightmare contented and like quiet around him? He's got a connection with Raven in some way too. He's got to, or he approves of him for his person that he's inhabiting.
Do you think he had an illegitimate kid and it's a new bloodline? Like, maybe that's the bloodline?
Maybe. Well, Emery's theory later is that they are from the same lineage as the Shepherd King, so maybe.
But if none of his kids survived,
Yeah.
how would that be his lineage? Okay, okay.
Maybe he had a brother or a sister that had kids. I don't know.
But they would have taken the crown.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know.
Well, this is painful. I'm gonna have to
My
read
brain
this to her. I'm
hurts.
sorry. So she wants to explain to Raven why she ran away from him. And he's like, it was for the best. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And he said he had been thinking about her since that night on the road. He embraces her as the two of them who will bring the reckoning. And I'm like, what fucking reckoning? What's he on about? I'm like, why would he say that?
Yeah.
You know, I can see it by your
I
face.
am
You know.
anything.
But there is a reason he said it, and clearly you know. I'm gonna have to wait. And then her dad, stepmom, and sisters show up. Her dad is momentarily stunned at her in her mother's dress because he says that she looks like her. And I'm like, that must be really hot. And that was one of the things that we said, why did he send her away and leave her? Did he pick the step family? I'm wondering if it's because she looks so much like the woman he loved more than anything that he couldn't bear to look at her.
That's selfish as fuck if that's the reason.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, it is. But men are not rational creatures, are they? They're kind of stupid. I know I have 2 sons. I'm sorry.
Love you.
But yeah, I love you really. I'm saying, like, they're not rational creatures,
Yeah.
like, they're all about self-preservation, was kind of where I was going with that. So her sisters grab her arms and walk off with her, and they are like, "You can't date Ravyn. Like, what if he turns you in?" And she says he wouldn't do that. And they're like, "That's so romantic." But she's like, whatever. She gives him the slip and she goes to Elm. She has a plan with his card. Em tells her that he knows that Ravyn doesn't see her, but he does, meaning that he's seeing someone who is very guarded and secretive, and he knows that she is keeping a secret from them, and he just doesn't know what it is. And I'm like, fuck, he's so astute, and I kind of love that about him. Nightmare is like, let me out to talk to him. And she's like, fuck no, it ain't happening. And all of this only stops when a commotion tells them a child has the infection and the parents have been arrested. And then she passes out.
Wait, who passes out?
Elspeth does.
She does? I don't have that in.
Okay, now you make
It ended with the destriers arriving with a bloodied man and woman, and Hoth is tying their hands together, and the crowd is silent.
I could have sworn she passed out. That seat now. Now I'm like, oh fuck, I get it.
I mean, maybe I didn't make note of this. So
I wrapped my arms past my chest, retreating into my mind, searching for courage, but I felt only darkness. Okay, maybe she didn't pass out. Maybe I made that wrong.
oh, the darkness. I see it.
Yeah. I kind of assumed she passed out, but no, I guess she didn't.
Yeah. My only little notes on this chapter I had is whenever Ravyn said that there would be a reckoning, I absolutely loved Elspeth's response. She tells them that the reckoning won't come from others; it will come from them. And then he gives her like this big, huge hug. Like he really needed to hear that. I think that she was on his team and that she had faith that they were going to succeed in this. I also really love, I know you mentioned like how well Elm sees her, but I think that Elm sees Elspeth so clearly, like even more so than Ravyn. And I love how observant and just like smart he is. I love it, love it, love it.
He also doesn't have any romantic feelings for her, so he's seeing the realistic version of her too, where Ravyn is seeing a romantic version.
Yeah, he is. No, I do.
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed the conversation with Ravyn and Elspeth whenever he was talking about how, it might be best that she ran off because he couldn't stop thinking about her and all of that. And what I gathered from that is that it's just a sweet confession that he's not scared of loving her at all. He's scared of what that love will cost his family. So he's still putting his family and everybody first. And I just love it.
Oh, I really like him. I really like him.
Same. Chapter 25.
Let's do it.
All right. Hoth orders the parents of this boy to be whipped for failing to report his infection. And the crowd is watching in this rigid silence. Nobody approves of what's going on, but nobody's actually going to step up and do anything about it. So Hoth uses his scythe card and commands the parents to pass over their charms, which then he crushes and, ruins their protection. And the destriers shove the couple forward as the carriage arrives carrying their son, and his wrists are bound too, and he is no older than 12 years old. So Hoth declares, that the card magic is the only true magic and everything else is corruption. And then he condemns the family to the mist. So the mom starts stepping forward and she's screaming. The dad is following. And inside Elspeth, the nightmare is raging. And Elspeth, she wants to do something. She wants to do anything. And so she turns to Elm and she demands, give me your cloak and switch masks with me. And whenever he hesitates, she's like, that boy's innocent. He's just like Emery. And that's what it took to kind of trigger Elm into action. Hoth is laughing and Elm murmurs something under his breath. And this was really cool to envision Scythe meeting Scythe. Love that. So the parents stop walking. And Elm steps up and tells Hoth that he's taken it too far. And Hoth orders Elm to, withdraw his scythe. And Elm's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Blood's trickling down his nose from, the overuse. And Hoth strikes him in the face and momentarily breaks the spell or the power that the card has. So the parents resume walking and then the mist swallows them both. So, once again, Elspeth asks the nightmare for help, and she collides with Orith, and she slams him and another physician down to the ground, and a third one flees. So Elspeth grabs the boy and tells him to run with her. And then the fleeing physician returns with Linden, one of the destriers, and Elspeth pulls the boy into the mist, and Linden follows them. As they're running, Elspeth sees other children darting through the mist with her, and she feels this urge to save them. Found that
Yep.
interesting. And they reach the chamber with the one dark window, and someone calls out, Miss. And Elspeth, stumbles. And when she looks up, all the other children are gone, and it's just the boy. Interesting. They hear screaming, and she gives the boy a charm for his parents and tells him that he does not need one, that the spirit doesn't harm people like them, and tells him to go. As Linden shows up, and they kind of get in an altercation, and she dodges, and she strikes him. And she sees spear flash across his face just before he falls. And then she sees blood pouring out of his neck. And Elspeth is kind of freaking out, like, Nightmare, what did you do? And so she runs straight into Ravyn. And he's like, Elspeth, breathe. You're safe. You're safe. And then he's like, pauses and he's like, your eyes are yellow. And then he touches her hands and kind of recoils because her hands are long like claws and they're covered in blood, which is wild. That was a wild chapter.
Really was. I had one
What's
question.
up?
Emery saw that when he touched her. So did he see the future?
Maybe. I don't know that he saw that exact instance because it didn't mention Ravyn.
Because he said that he saw the yellow eyes, the claws, and the blood.
Yeah.
And that's what Ravyn just saw, right? So I'm wondering, is he in the future? Something that happened just then?
It was either
Like,
the
is that what
future or
was?
it's just seeing the nightmare creature inside of her. And maybe that's happened at another moment, but maybe. I just really enjoyed the part of this scene with Elm because I really like him, but him choosing to defy Hoth openly in front of everybody on Market Street, I feel like that was really a turning point. I feel like he's probably wanted to do that for so long, but Hoth brutalized him as a kid. So like he's been his bully, and for him to step up and kind of be like, no, you've taken it too far, even for you. Stop this I feel like it was important. And also,
No.
the children running and vanishing, except for the boy. That's creepy, right? Were they real?
Very.
Were they an echo? Were they a memory of the nightmare or the Shepherd King?
That's kind of that's what I thought it was. I thought it was an echo of these dead kids. Because they always kill them, right? And I'm like, is that the God,
other kids who have run through the mist as well?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just that I feel like I'm missing something with the spirit of the wood. I feel like there is something way more to it than what I know right now. And like I said, I want to Google so bad. And I nearly did. And like, there's something I'm missing. I swear. Like, it's there. And I've probably already read it.
She'll tell you.
No. But it's so good, though. So good. Are you ready for chapter 26?
Yeah.
Ravyn is wiping the blood off her hands and asking her whose blood it is and are they dead? Because that would be a very normal reaction to what just happened. But it's not over yet. There's more destriers and they are coming. Ravyn tells her to stay put and he goes off to work out whatever plan he's got going on in his head. And she starts to yell at Nightmare. Like, fuck just happened? That's not what she asked for, right? So Ravyn asks her what happened and she says she couldn't allow them to take the boy. And he wants to know if she was recognized because that's a big thing. And again, it doesn't seem like anybody did recognize her. So what the fuck did she look like?
She had a mask on.
Oh, yeah, I guess she did. But people would have seen her in the market like that,
Yeah, but she took
right?
Elm's mask and Elm's cloak.
Yeah.
Her, original clothes.
This is a big theme that I'm noticing that, like, well, you recognize, did anyone see you?
It's
Are you
going under the
compromised,
radar.
right? Yeah. So he wants to know about the yellow in her eyes, and she's worried that he won't want her if she tells him. And he doesn't agree. It's like, your estimate of me must be very low then. And I'm like, and this is where Ravyn, I am a solid Ravyn fan at this point. This moment was he could do anything now, and I think I will still love him. Like, that was my moment. So they go back to the fray, and Elm's there. He's like, "Oh, still alive then?" And she admits that she hurt Lyndon, but doesn't know if he's dead. And he's like, "Isn't that something you should know?" And I was like, wow. Raven is furious. He tried to execute someone without his say so, and he literally rims the prince out like a motherfucker. And I really enjoyed that. Like,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not supposed to be doing any of this shit without my say so. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? And he's like, "Well, you weren't around. You were too busy." And like, you can tell that it's all about like, oh, you're too busy with her over there. Albus finds out that they find infected kids and their families and they smuggle them out to safety. And I really love this moment because she's just found out that not only are they looking for these cars, but they're actively searching out for
Yeah.
these infected kids and making sure that they don't die. And I think that was a real light bulb moment for her because it was for me. And I was like, not all heroes wear capes. And I'm like, wow, like now I know that she really did pick the right side because yes, I felt she had picked the right side, but at this moment now I know that she's right, that she did the right
They
thing.
have a soft
Raven's
spot
father,
for these
yeah,
kids because Emery.
yeah. So Raven's father sends word that Emery has run away from the stone, and this is really, really bad news. And now they have to rush back to your castle immediately. Can you blame Emery though? Would you fucking stay put?
Stay put. Are you kidding?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't have
I wanna
stayed.
be with my
You couldn't have
family.
forced me to stay. I would not have stayed.
Yeah.
Like, why are they leaving him there?
I think that
Like, I know it's because
because the king plans on using him, he wants to keep him close to make sure that he's there when he needs him.
they got no clue where this fucking card is. Like, why can't he be with his family until he's needed?
Also,
Seems
I think
really
because the physician, Orith, is with the king, they probably want him there to maybe treat and hold off his degeneration so that he makes it until then.
yeah, maybe that's it. Okay, yeah.
Not that
Okay.
I know how
Yeah.
that he could treat him, but would've.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did great on that one. I don't have anything else. 27?
Yeah, let's do
27.
it.
Okay. So they arrive back at Castle U, and Thistle meets them there and says Emery's in the library and he is shaking, freezing cold. So Elm uses the scythe card and murmurs for Emery to feel the warmth. And Emery kind of stirs and opens his eyes and he's like, "Hey, I'm not dead." So Ravyn kind of lays into him and he's like, "Dude, you could have died making that journey by yourself." And Emery doesn't argue. He's like, "Yeah, I know, but I'm already dying. And at least this way it would be on my own terms." And Elspeth feels that deeply. And Emery doesn't actually recognize Elspeth, even though they've met before. But when he hears her name, Spindle, he vaguely has this hazy memory of her dad and her stepsisters standing at the tree, which I don't know the significance of that. But Emery says that the Yus are descendants of the Shepherd King, and he believes that because stone was built by the Rowans after the Shepherd King's death, and that Castle U is the only other grand castle. So it makes sense to him in his mind that the Shepherd King would have needed a grand castle to live in, and theirs is the only feasible option.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, right? So Elspeth starts trying to think it through, and she's like, "Well, wait a second. I don't actually know the nightmare's name. Nightmare, what's your real name?" And he says his name is Ash, lost to the winds.
Yeah.
So, well, that's kind of sad. But Thistle arrives with food, and we realize how deathly thin Emery is because first degeneration takes the mind and then the body. So he's on the last little leg of it. Ravyn tells Emery that he must return to Stone tomorrow, but Emery really wants one thing first. He wants to go see the trees in the garden. So Elm is staring at Ravyn this whole time while they're eating, and Ravyn's like, "What?" And Elm finally says what is on his mind. He thinks that he's a fool. And he says that they could have been in Spindle House today stealing the well, but that Ravyn insisted that they go to Market Street because he wanted to be near Elspeth. He also says that her magic is more than spotting Providence cards and that he does not trust her. And Ravyn's like, "Well, too bad because I do trust her." and he wanted to go to Market Street so that they would have an alibi because the Ivy brothers actually went in to try to steal the wall card, but they couldn't find it. Yeah. But we learned that if the card is stolen because it's this huge crime, there would be an inquest and that anyone could be interrogated with a chalice card, which is terrifying for people keeping secrets, such as Elspeth. So Jesper returns and tells him that the boy and his parents were not found, unfortunately, and that Lyndon is barely alive. Also unfortunate.
Is it?
But the others leave until only Ravyn and Elspeth are left. And Ravyn is kind of guarded again. He's got his walls up. And Elspeth finally tells him the truth that she's been circling this whole time, that she's degenerating. And he's so gentle about it. He just kind of kneels in front of her and he's like, tell me, what kind? And so she says that she's never spoken about it and that she can't. And she, has a tear roll down and he wipes it away. And his response is that they all have secrets that they're forced to keep and that he trusts her and she's safe with him and that they only have 2 more cards left until she's free. He's just so sweet and supportive and patient. And I love that. So
I do too.
she, wants an escape from her mind. So she kisses him and he pulls her up and takes her back to his room and asks if he can kiss her, not on the mouth. And then they finally have sex, and they're no longer pretending, which is sweet. That's all I had in that one, except for the fact that the Shepherd's King lineage, if that theory is true, feels massive. And that would mean that Ravyn is somehow aligned with royalty of the 8 of him instead of the Rowans.
So that would mean that he would potentially have a larger claim to the throne.
Yeah. Which,
right?
If you call back to the beginning of part 1, when the Shepherd King is speaking in his riddles about Ravyn, and he's like, oh, is he a mask? Is he a stone? Does he just want the throne?
Yeah.
Maybe that was a little bit of
Now
foreshadowing.
that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Well, that actually makes more sense now because I never got the feeling that Ravyn was interested in the throne. But if that is his lineage, because that would be 500 years, right?
Yeah.
That's a long time. So Ravyn would be.
He didn't seem too interested in or like to believe Emery whenever he was talking about that, though.
Yeah, but everyone thinks he's crazy, and I think that he is an
oracle of sorts.
Yeah, an oracle. I think that he is seeing future events. I do. I really believe that.
Maybe.
But I've got so many questions. I think I'm going to read this tonight. I think I need to know. Excellent. Are you ready for the last chapter?
I am.
Chapter 28. Oh, they've just done the dirty, as we now know. And she slips from his bedchamber. She doesn't want to wake him. I think it's more that she wants time to think now they've done that. I think she wants time to think. I don't think this is so much about him. And she accidentally bumps into Jesper. She pretends that she doesn't know what happened. And I had a really big chuckle here because Jesper's like, I want to hear nothing.
He's delighted.
Yeah. And I think that she was probably hoping for that the whole time. And I wrote, I love Jesper here. I love her. Now she's gone down to breakfast and Ravyn comes in and he smiles at Elspeth. And this is one of my favorite parts in this whole part. And I was like, you smiling is unnerving.
I enjoyed that too.
It's 2 and 2 together and it's like, I lost my appetite. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, you're so funny. And this is where Emery ends up coughing blood into his hanky. And that is a real, I don't know what you guys call it here.
Buzzkill.
He coughed into a handkerchief, right?
Handkerchief, yeah. I mean, everybody was laughing. It's kind of a buzzkill.
But it is. You're not wrong. But it's a somber reminder that he really has to go back. So I'm guessing that whatever they're doing at the castle must be halting this degeneration. Now, Ravyn is glad that Elspeth got to see Emery in the way he really is, like his true personality. And for me, I am so glad that I got to see that.
Yeah.
And he wants to know why she left him. And she was like, oh, I wanted you to rest. And he was like, I don't want rest. I want you. Do you though? And then she decides that she needs to know something. So she goes running after Emery and catches up to him. And she's like, I want to ask you something. And he is like, I'm guessing that you don't want anyone to know, like my brother, that you are asking me this. And I was like, even in his degenerative state, he is still so astute enough to know that she wants this to be kept private. And she wants him to touch her again. She wants his magic to show her what's going on inside her. And so he does. And he touches her and he tells her that he sees. He says the monster is wrapped around her spine and she will lose herself soon. And that was fucking terrifying. And he says he's not animal or man, but something in between, and he will not let her go.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my fucking God. Because at this point, for me, Nightmare has been very benign. I know that, he's getting more control over her, like the more she uses him. But at that point, I'm like, wow, is he really a danger to her now? And that was the first time I felt this way. And he tells her he is there perched in the room he built for the spirit, and he is whispering. And this is what he says. There once was a girl, clever and good, who tarried the shadows in the depth of the wood. There was also a king, a shepherd by his crook, who reigned over magic and wrote the old book. The two were together, so the two were the same, the girl, the king, and the monster they became. Her eyes are now yellow. And she is so sorry that she's had to make him see the nightmare that he had to see, and she begs him not to tell anybody about what he had seen, and he admits that tomorrow he won't even remember what happened.
Yeah.
So whenever he uses this gift, clearly does not stick with him.
Yeah.
He loses that.
He
So
views
I
it
was
as
that's
a
obviously why he
benefit.
didn't remember her.
Yeah, he views it as a positive though, because he doesn't have to live with all the
Well, I don't blame him, to be perfectly
yeah.
honest with you, but at the same time, like, he didn't even remember knowing her. So it's not even when he's using the powers, it's not even just then, it's regular. So he's being etch-a-sketched every fucking day.
And maybe he
Like,
just has his long-term memories.
yeah. And I'm like, I was so fucking sad for him. So fucking sad. And she said she can feel the bend of her spine as the nightmare's claws curl around it. And I was so fucking creeped out. I shut the fuck up.
Yeah, right?
And it's almost like she's given in now. She knows that there's no way to stop it. And it feels like she kind of gave in a bit.
Yeah, some mild acceptance there. The only other
Yeah.
thing that I noticed, which I found interesting, was whenever she asked Emery to touch her and I guess, the nightmare accused her of stealing his secrets. And I was like, so it wouldn't be the future if it's secrets. Maybe, I mean, maybe it's a mixed bag, but like, what secrets do you have, sir? Because he could do
Yes,
everything, I think, probably. It just depends on what he, focuses in on.
yeah, but all he really told her was that the nightmare's taking over and it's gonna be soon. It didn't really feel, and she already kind of knows this. So what secret did he?
But maybe there is more and he does actually have secrets and he was scared that Emery would have seen that instead of the other thing because he's probably not showing him what to show her. He's probably just
Yeah, but if you think about that logically, then it would have been showing the future of what the nightmare could take over and do with her body. So that still would have been
yeah.
precognition, right?
But unless
I don't
he
know.
he can see future and past, and then maybe he thought that he would
Oh,
get
maybe.
something from the past that would be a secret that he didn't want because the nightmare seems to be a pretty he wouldn't even tell her his name.
No, and but again, he's only telling her it now. But then I guess she only just did ask, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm really starting to get concerned about what is going to happen to her. Like, because he
What would
felt
happen
so like,
what would happen if he actually took over? Would she be this half creature, feral, furred, tailed, clawed thing running around?
yeah, yeah, there's no other way around it. He would take over her body, but it would look the way that they talk about it. Like, not quite human,
Or she
not
wouldn't
quite.
live long because they would definitely go after her if that were the case. There's no hiding that.
But does he want his crown back? Like, what does he want?
I don't
I've
know.
got I have so many
He lost
questions.
everything, so maybe he just wants out so he can be free or to die. Maybe he just wants to die, honestly. I feel like if I lost my crown and all my
Maybe.
family and I was stuck in a card for 500 years.
He made a shitty deal. Made a
Yeah.
shitty deal. But did he know that did he know he could come back? Like, this has obviously been foretold, right? Because this rhyme keeps coming up. The
Yeah,
king and the girl and the
and the
thing they
monster they became.
became, right? Yeah.
Don't
So many
know.
questions.
I'm so
Oh my God,
excited.
I'm so excited. So what did you think about part 2? What do you think? What did you glean from it?
I I got that Raven is a very fucking solid dude. He has his morals perfectly, pointing north and that he would do anything for other people. I got that Elm is insanely intelligent and observant and capable of reading people more than we ever knew. I'm confused on Ione on I mean, I know what happens with her storyline, but also at this point, I don't know where she is mentally, like where she stands, like whose side she's on, like how much power that card is having over her. I don't know that. I really love Jesper. I love their budding friendship. She wants one with her. So I don't know. I'm excited that I feel like a lot is going to happen. I honestly don't remember how the first book ends, but I feel like we've got
You know,
a,
I'm kind of glad because I feel like you're in the dark too.
yeah. I mean, I remember bits and pieces of the second book. I
Yeah.
honestly, whenever I was rereading this, I did not even remember the Ravyn was infected. I was like, what? He
Really?
is? But his infection isn't as like cool. He can't use cards. It's not like hers where she's got a creature living in her head, or Emery's where he's laughing manically and reading people's fortunes. So it's not as exciting, I guess. So it makes sense that I forgot. But yeah, I totally forgot
You
that.
were concentrating on other stuff. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
and
Actually,
I
it makes
wasn't
sense.
deep diving. I was just reading.
Yeah.
But I do
I'm
remember
so excited.
quite a bit from the second book. It's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like if you
Is it
think this one
separated
is
into 3 parts too?
if you think that this one is like creative and artsy in the way that she writes it, the second one is just brilliant in her imagery and what she's able to. Like I still vividly remember pictures of scenes. Let's see, you probably get there faster with that. I'm waiting on my slow Kindle
Oh, I don't even know
library.
where I'm heading. Like, how many chapters were in here? Yeah, there's part 2, the barter. Yeah, it looks like it's split into 3. It must be. But I like they have different points of view in this book.
They do.
Like there was an Elm point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We got a lot of character development and growth for Elm in the second one. I fell in love with him in that book.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. I think if I remember correctly, no, I don't know actually. I was gonna say I don't know if they part ways and they go different parts and that's why we get 2 different POVs, but I do
Right.
vividly remember like 2 different things happening. So maybe that's why she did it. Yeah,
I'm excited. I can't wait to start part 3. I can't wait to talk to you about it.
let's
It's a really short section, guys, so you're gonna literally well, how long this episode was, it should probably be a shorter one on
yeah.
the next part.
And it won't take as long. We had a big gap from part 1 and part 2. Hopefully we can get there in a few days.
Yeah. Well, yeah, probably with maybe the first part of January, hey?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Awesome. You can find Hannah on her social medias. She's on Instagram at the toppling TBR_Hannah. I'm on Instagram as well, the toppling TBR_Stacy. You can find our Facebook page at the toppling TBR. We have our YouTube and our Spotify at the toppling TBR. And I'm fairly certain that it's on Amazon, Apple, and everywhere else now too, because I just checked and yes, it's all listed. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
We will definitely be getting part 3 done very, very quickly because I don't think I can wait. And we can't wait to share our thoughts and feelings with you about that.
Yeah.
We hope you have a great reading week, guys, and we will catch you on the next episode. Take care.